Welcome, Tag Fu. What? The first and only podcast about people eating stuff. I'm Mike Lisk.
Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of Egg Fu. What? Young Michael, the twist you took with the intro there. It's not my place to say it, but magnifique.
I'm going for the falsetto, right?
You're really coming along.
Is that the correct term?
I want to say I'm proud of you because that's insulting to a man of your stature.
My stature.
But I am.
Wow. Wait until this show progresses. I don't know if we're going to be thinking so highly of me at the end of the show.
Uh-oh.
But anyway,
this.
Anyway, we're going to continue in my blatant effort to expand this audience to the record geek crowd. Last week I did my 10 most listened to albums. And this week, I'm throwing it over to you, Greg.
Well, first of all, good luck in expanding our audience to music geeks. I do like how pathetically blatant you are. I respect that. So yeah, you kept saying most listened to albums, which is hard to say, really. What we really mean is albums we love over the years, right?
Yeah, and you keep going back to it. So yeah, they're the ones you play the most over a lifetime.
So obviously my first choice is a twofer. You got him?
I got him.
Leave Home, which is my favorite Ramones record, but I like to put it with Rocket to Russia. The sister albums are like Irish twins, both released in the same year. Look at that. Beautiful. Both of those albums, top Ramones records, top albums of all time. When I was so lucky because in high school, because of our friend Will, who we've had as a guest, the guy who thinks Waddy is so good looking. I don't know, I'm talking to memory.
Will Croxton. Let's give him
Will
full
Croxton.
credit.
That's right. He was a little older and was in college and in a band and a cool guy. So thanks to him, as a ninth grader, I had access to Ramones records. And so I thought when I get to college, everybody listens to Ramones. I was like, it's going to be amazing. And I had this fantasy of taking the artwork from Rocket to Russia. Each song has a brilliant little cartoon drawn by John Holmstrom, the punk magazine guy. I was going to spend that summer spray painting T-shirts with each cartoon. I was just going to parade around campus when I got there in the fall, and fellow Ramones fans would flock to me.
Yeah,
and that's how we'd change the world.
Let us know what years are we talking about?
1990.
1990, yeah.
Yeah.
Tough times for the Ramones in 1990.
Tough times, but I thought, oh man, when you get to college, everybody listens to the Ramones. It's just going to be. Long story short, of course, I never got around to doing those T-shirts. Surprise. And in all my years in college, I found one other fan of the Ramones, Jenny Fennell, who we've talked about. I think last year in an episode about when they came to play my college, thanks to her.
And you wrote a song about her?
Wrote a song about it. Yep, that's right. About being, her being the only other Ramones fan. It's called Jenny Fennell. You can download it for 99 cents.
Keep plugging. That's what we're here for.
It's the big part of the Happy Scene EP that I recorded back in 1995. That was still probably the most thrilling thing I've done in my life. That I should release that as a single. Since I've tried to squeeze money out of it over the years.
I still have my copy.
Thanks, buddy. So long story long, the Ramones are my favorite band. Those are my favorite two albums by them, and I can't imagine a scenario where I don't go back and listen to those. Next up, and these, I feel like I'm a little, I don't know why, because I don't consider myself to be a music geek, but I'm worried these are a little vanilla-y as we go along. So feel free to, not as bad as yours, but of course the replacement.
Wait a second. We're gonna get to one album that is like we'll have some discussion.
Oh, really?
Talking about vanilla.
Well, I do
obvious. Let's put it that way.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. You know what it
Well,
is.
first of all, I'm giving myself credit. I didn't do any comps or best ofs.
Hmm.
You had a couple in there, live records.
Mm-hmm.
Can we? Okay. The Replacements classic of all classics, Tim, of course. Let's get that terrible artwork up on screen. Is that the shittiest album cover for a great album there is? The back I like fine. Like, can you think of an album you love with a shittier cover than Tim? No, you cannot.
Yeah, I
Now,
still don't know what the hell it is. I mean,
yeah, I read an article about the creative director of it, and it still makes no sense.
what it looks like some sort of tunnel or something. The bottom half.
Tunnel in a cathedral in the 1400s
Yeah.
before they invented the window or the door. Atrocious.
It is curious. And of course, we mentioned this on the heels of the announcement that the remix version of Tim is finally going to see the light of day. We've listened for decades about how this mix was terrible. I never quite understood that conversation. I love the record.
You.
I love the record as is. I didn't feel like I had to, add a footnote, but the mix is bad. How many times have we heard that? So, I welcome any improvements to the album. I actually know the person, actually Bob Muir, who wrote the book Trouble Boys.
Mm-hmm.
He's involved, so it's going to be quality. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Well, you seen him on Twitter?
I follow him on Twitter.
He gets all upset when people question, they're like, so when people are like, you know what, I like the original mix. He goes nuts on them. And
Oh, does he? I didn't see that.
I mean, number one, I've always loved the album.
Mm-hmm.
I've always loved the sound of it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm excited about these remixes. I'm sure they'll be great.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll love them too. But number one, I've had a lot of music geek friends turn their nose up, but I love Tim's great, but the production, and they turn their nose. And I've always wondered if it's because Westerberg said that when the album came out.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always wondered if a little bit of it is like, well, of course, if Paul thinks it, I must think it because I too am a musical genius. So there's a little bit of that bullshit on it. But plus, it's like,
yeah, I think I just found out about him being the origin of this all, and okay.
I'm like, and it's painted like, oh, finally, like he's some victim. I'm like, I'm sorry. Number one, I'm pretty sure he was there while they were recording it, mixing it, mastering, whatever.
Right.
And then it's like, all right, you've had 40 years of bitching about it. You could have done this at any point.
Uh-huh.
But like all of a sudden, we're like, oh, Tim's finally free from the shackles.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing happened with Kurt Cobain. The second Nevermind sold 2 records. He wanted to do the old, and I hate the production. It's too shiny. It's too good. Like, well, you were sitting there while the money faucets were on. And I'm pretty sure you cashed the checks and you sit there in the studio and you liked it. But the second you want to be mystical. So I've always felt a little bit of the whole Tim production thing goes directly back to dudes trying to like somehow they think, and I do it too all the time. They think if Westerberg somehow hears them talking about in the turkey's nest, he's going to want to be their best friend.
Yeah.
I don't know what they think is going to happen. It's like I'm going to vote for a rich person because I think then I'll become rich. Whatever. I mean, I'm excited because I love the album so much. And there are a couple of things on the, like a couple of extra versions of Nowhere's My Home I haven't heard or whatever. But I am bummed because I went to buy it the other day. And you can tell me what your thoughts on this are. It's not offered on vinyl. It's all CDs. One of the records is vinyl, like the one official Ed Stasium remix or whatever. That's a vinyl. The rest is CD. Now,
that's weird.
I'm not a snob, like, unless it's Phil Spector or the Ramones with the Wall of Sound. I've never been you have to hear it on vinyl guy. My ears, all kinds of sound fine.
Mm-hmm.
But for these big events, just like with Revolver, I feel like having it all of it at vinyl just makes it feel like an event, that I want to be a part of and wrap my arms around.
Yeah.
Where CDs, it's a bit like, Like,
see,
I'm sure
I'm in the minority where I'm not part of this new vinyl resurgence. One, because it's much more expensive. I'm not going to spend $40 on an album I already have. I mean, I rebought most of my records when they came out in CD. So now we're looking on the third cycle of me rebuying the same album. And I'm just saying no, I mean, I know there's new
but these CDs cost, I think it's like 120. It's not like,
yeah, they're not cheap. I mean, I already I pre-ordered already as well. But yeah, I didn't look at all the permutations. Yeah, it does seem like usually when there's something like this, you have the option of the vinyl or the CD. Not sure, there must be some sort of marketing thing involved where
well,
they
that doesn't
said,
make sense either. Because in terms of business, you think their audience, it's a little older than me, actually, very comfortable with vinyl, with records. And then from what I've picked up on the young people today, the kids, as you say, they love, they've discovered records, as they call it, vinyls, which
yeah,
but okay.
Yeah, the whole vinyls thing is just really.
I'm like, I know.
I mean, we're not shrinking the word down. Records is 2 syllables. Vinyl.
I guess they want to make it feel like it's their own.
Okay.
Wonderful. I don't care. But so yeah, in terms of business, I'm like, why wouldn't they? Because I would have already bought it by now. I know I'll break down and get it after I bitch and moan about it. But you think from a business point of view, they'd want, they'd have it available for, like I said, I don't care about the sound wise. I'm probably not going to be able to notice a difference or whatever. But for these events, I like it, make it feel like that. So
I mean, there's 2 songs that I guess out there that you can listen to, and for my untrained ears, it sounds like the drums are louder. I went back, I listened to I did the A/B thing, and to me, it sounds like the drums are louder. That's the thing I'm hearing right off the bat, which it gives it a little more punch. So I get that, but we'll have to see. I mean,
for the Left of the Dial one, the one they've already released, I did notice the bass was more, but then it's like you said, if you A/B it, you go, okay, you can tell the difference. But is that what I have to be doing now? Is this a full-time job? I got to A/B record, right?
Yeah, you don't watch enough of these record geeks on YouTube, because that's all they do. They're always A/B-ing things. I mean, they've got
I'm at whatever layer stops of music geek. I'm at whatever stops right there.
Yeah, no, I've stopped at 2 versions of the same album, and it's not like I've duplicated my whole record collection. I mean, I started with records, so well, no, I have a lot of CDs now. I never did a count on CDs, but lots of records, and yeah, I couldn't afford to replace everyone on CD, so I didn't. But yeah, I'm not going to do it again in 2023. Where how many years do I have left before I'm underground?
2 or
Not
3.
that much. Not that much. Not that much. So let's be rational here. I want to stay rational toward the end, as far as I can.
Yeah, I'm not A/Bing these. There are a few albums I love more than Tim, and I'm not sitting there A/Bing these things. I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure the mix will be great, but I'm tired of hearing people bitching and moaning about it.
Yeah.
But
here's the thing:
crying in his basement for 40 years. You could have picked up the phone, and this could have been done immediately.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I
take
think
all your money from Open Season 4 and do it yourself.
Well, the previous lavish album was "Don't Tell a Soul," and I guess that did well, and I believe Bob won a Grammy for the packaging and stuff. So they're going to continue. They've got a hit program, and lots
I'm all
of
for them doing these. I like that they're doing these re-releases.
Yeah, no, I do.
I don't understand the non-vinyl and this. Oh, Westerberg's finally freed. Get the fuck out of here with that.
He hasn't even commented, has he?
Of course not.
He won't promote it. He's down in his basement, where he's happy.
Well, and then when he finally does come out and promote it, he's going to do the thing where he's like, "Oh, I can't remember the words to my songs. Aren't I just incredibly cool? Oh, what's this one? We got to go through that dance where we got to pretend that we don't notice that you're pretending you can't remember any of the words to your songs."
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I don't
All right,
want to.
maybe we better move on. We've
I'm getting
belabored
upset.
this. You're
I'm
you're
getting
getting
upset.
heated.
Obviously, I had to pick a Beatles record. A lot. I won't say you could have picked anyone, but I picked Sergeant Pepper. Uh, there it is. Nice one, Michael. I picked that over the others
Still in good shape. Guess why?
because Mike List.
No, no, not my favorite Beatles record.
Yeah, it's not my favorite, but if I'm kind of putting them all the same, I'm gonna give this a little bounce. Number one, to keep up the theme of my being bitchy at Music Geeks. All I heard when I moved to Brooklyn was Sergeant Pepper stinks. Because it's oh, if you really understand, you got to love Revolver, kind of like the Smile Pet Sounds thing.
Uh-huh.
Although I wouldn't compare Smile to Revolver. So right away, my eyes are rolling. And I feel like I got to defend Sergeant Pepper now. That's what is happening with these people.
Uh-huh.
But plus, I believe it was the first record album I ever saw in real life and like held in my hand and played. When I was a kid, my mother was a librarian, and back then you just bring the kids during the summer and would wander around town. And as a record player, and this would have been like 1979, 80.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the only record there just sitting there, and I'd play it. And obviously, of all the albums I find it's an incredible cover, all the stuff that was in it. It's not my favorite Beatles album, but it's close, and it's probably the first album I ever actually saw in real life. So,
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
I'm sorry, but you wanted to shit on it. I'm sorry.
No, I told my story about
It's a connection I have. It's a connection I have as a kid with my mother.
No, it
I'm sorry.
changed it.
You wanted to shit on it.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm changing course. That's a very touching story. I didn't know it was literally the first album you came across.
That's right.
But so yes, all right. No, I'm like I said, I mean, my favorite Beatles records when I was a kid, and I played them to death, were the Red and Blue collections. Because that's
Are they being re-released? Is that what I'm saying?
are they?
Is that where they're new? Because everyone's all worked up. They're releasing a final Beatles song. Be Here Now. You heard about that?
Oh yeah, where they're putting vocals together, yeah, or something.
Yeah. And then I think because it's the 50th anniversary of the Red and Blue albums, now I'm seeing they've remastered those or whatever. I don't know.
I know that it took them a long time to put those out on CD because when the Beatles finally did put everything on CD, they were not part of it.
Oh, really?
It was all the British versions. The American versions weren't released as CDs, so they tried to make the authorized version, right, of the Beatles. So it was all the British versions of the albums, and then they tacked on the past masters 1 and 2 to cover the singles. And they didn't release the American versions until years later. They didn't release the Red and Blue compilations until much later. But if it's the 50th, they're all looking at anniversaries now to re-release records. Mm-hmm. So we're in the thick of things with all the classic rock records celebrating anniversaries. But it's not even just 50. I mean, it's you see 10th year anniversaries and 20. Whenever they can get work an anniversary into a reissue, they do it.
Like the Happy Scenes 25th year reissue of their beloved EP. Take My Teenage Head, featuring the should-be hit single Jenny Fennell. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But
a couple of months ago, I did I can't remember if we talked about it. My version of what the Red and White album should have been. Because
Red and Blue.
Yeah, the 2 songs from Revolver, and one of them is Yellow Submarine. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, that's a fucking fail. That's a
Okay, all right. No, I'm with you on that one.
so we'll see. I think they're coming out.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite Beatles album?
I would go with, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. I think mine is probably Rubber Soul, very close to Revolver. I like Rubber Soul a lot.
The
It's
safe
like more
boy.
acoustic. It's yeah, I don't know. I like that record.
Well, we've gone around and around on that, so
Yeah,
I'll
we
leave
have.
I'll leave
Well,
Rubber Soul there.
we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
What's your next one?
Kids in Philly
Now
by Mariah.
this one I don't have the vinyl, as the kids say.
Okay.
Um,
Finals.
this this was during the CD era, so it's not cool to hold up CDs. So I'm not going to hold up my CD of Kids in Philly.
Okay.
Actually, I get in trouble legally because I think I did a burn with some extra tracks.
You're going to hell, Mike Liss.
I did a burn and some extra
Have fun
tracks
burning in hell.
from our buddy Ope. I think there was a.
Oh, now you're gonna get him in jail. Throw him under the bus.
I threw him under the bus.
Jeez.
But yeah, that's a great
Packers
record.
tags coming off.
That was a great album. You want to?
Well, to be honest, I mean, it might be my favorite Mariah album. Sometimes I've always said Float Away is my number one, but Kids in Philly, I've always thought is the definitive album of my time.
Mhm.
Like that came out, I was ready for it. And at the time, I'd kind of given up on, oh, I'll never hear another band I love. Rock and roll's over. I'll never care again. And then poof, Mariah showed up and Kids in Philly, and it's just crazy iconic. It's crazy amazing. It takes me back to a place. It takes me back to a place and a time. It's the year 2000, so we're all younger. Everything seems better. Yeah, it's another one. I just cannot fathom not visiting this album over and over until my deathbed, which hopefully will be way after your, what do we say, 2 years from now?
A couple of years. Now, were you aware of Let's Cut the Crap beforehand? Because I think I saw Mariah before Kids in Philly came out. I was blown away. I saw them at the Mercury Lounge, and I guess Let's Cut the Crap had been out for a little bit. So I think it was just shortly before Kids in Philly came out.
Yeah, I think you saw that show with Ope, right?
Yeah.
And so Ope made me a tape of Cut the Crap. He's already going to jail anyway for your thing, so why not let everybody know he made me a tape of it?
He's our bootleg source here.
Jeez.
We never paid for music back then. We were
listen for the sirens, the
scraping
feds
for money.
And I liked it, but then we went to the Kids in Philly release party. We got to somehow went to that show, and I hadn't heard Kids in Philly yet, but when they played it live, I was blown away. Which to me seems like I don't know if that's ever happened with me. Like I hear the song live before I hear it on the album, and like I felt like that's how I knew. I was like, wow, I'm really gonna love this album if I love it hearing it for the first time. Because usually if you like to replay it, you go da da da.
Uh-huh.
And that album's been a huge part of my life since. Obviously, great friends with Dave and Serge. But yeah, that's definitely my short list of albums that will be there with me till the end.
Now they were a great live band, and yeah, I mean, seeing them live, it was an immediate reaction. I was like, wow, this is exciting. Haven't seen an exciting band like this in a while. So yeah, I was ready for Kids in Philly when it came out.
Perfect. That's still your favorite album?
By them? Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's good stuff scattered on other albums as well, but that one, I think it all came together for them.
Magnificent album. Next up, this one's been with me since high school. It'll be with me till the end. REM's Murmur. Just every song is great. I mean, it's at the point where I can't remember the last time I didn't just kind of skip over Radio Free Europe. There we go. There's the guys. Just a great album. I don't pretend to know what it's about any more than anybody else does. I don't really care.
Uh-huh.
Sounds great. The songs are great. Again, I hope it's normal to have all this nostalgia with albums.
That's
Music,
normal. I mean, we associate the music with where we were at that point in our lives.
yeah. So it's just
Everybody
another
does
one of
that.
those albums that like was one of the first albums I'll say discovered, but it was given to me, I'm sure. The REM, the Replacements, the Ramones, the Clash, all that stuff that I was lucky to get in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I'd have been listening to Whitesnake or whatever.
But what?
No
Yeah,
offense
were
to
you out of
Whitesnake.
were you out of step with your classmates? I mean,
Yeah, I didn't listen to any. Yeah, I mean, I didn't like anything in the radio. I only listened to oldies radio. I mean, it was the height of hair metal.
yeah, yeah.
It was pretty shitty. And I just got lucky. Uh, again with Will, and and REM is definitely one of the byproducts of that. And
So you knew that was the first one. You didn't have Chronic Town.
no, the first song I ever heard of theirs is still my favorite REM song, "Life and How to Live It." Got off of a mixtape someone had. That's off of Fables of Reconstruction. But then I immediately got Murmur, and Murmur's still my favorite.
Yeah, no, it's
Life with
great.
Pageant is a close second, but Murmur is still number one. And they've put out 20 albums since like 2000, and I don't care about any of them. But
I mean, I had gotten Chronic Town, and I was intrigued. I'm like, what? Well, this is interesting. It's different, So yeah, I was looking forward to Murmur, and then I think their second record, what is it? South Central Rain? Is that the name of it? What's the
Reckoning.
set? Reckoning? Okay, yes, yeah. I'm blanking out. Reckoning, I remember when that came out, I was like, wow. Because yeah, the songs are pretty mysterious on Murmur. At least on Reckoning, you had a couple songs where the lyrics were a little more
Yeah,
you could hear what he was singing about. So I felt like Reckoning was actually a step up. I mean, I love Reckoning too. I mean, Murmur too, but Reckoning, yeah, I played that probably more than Murmur.
I hear that a lot. Most REM fans tell me that. I've never loved Reckoning as much as most REM fans. I mean, I like it. And there's some like Don't Go Back to Rockville. That's a super slice of super slices. Pretty Persuasion's great. A couple other things. It's always felt like, oh, if you like REM, you automatically Reckoning is right there. It's not, I like it, but it's not my top 3 or 5 REM albums.
I feel that way about your other favorite, Life's Rich Pageant.
You have to stick that in my face, Mike.
I'm just saying,
You don't feel
REM
like
fans can disagree. We disagree about things. And
Yeah.
was Life's Rich Pageant like the first album like came out new that you got? Is that the connection?
That wasn't until Document.
Okay.
Because 9th grade would have been 86, 87 for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's probably right after Life's Rich Pageant, which I love, still love. Document was the first one where I knew about them and was waiting for it.
Yeah.
Do you remember when they were on Letterman that time and they did their first TV appearance?
You know what? I don't think. I mean, I've seen that since. He's acting weird, right? I mean, he's sort of. Isn't he like sitting off to the side or something?
Yeah, like he interviewed them or chatted with them, and he's off to the side being weird. And
yeah,
they did 2 songs, I think, which is odd even back then on the Letterman show. But
no, I think that's a good move. Being the mysterious singer, what's he all about? It builds intrigue. I think it's
get away with it if it starts taking hold immediately. Sure, why not? Like
yeah. You want a little mystery. Yeah. Keep people guessing. You're an artist.
I don't know if that works anymore.
You're not easy to read.
Yeah, I don't know if that happens anymore. I don't know if people want mystery with their celebrities anymore.
No, you don't think so?
Nah. I mean, we all want every minute detailed, everything.
Yeah.
About every celebrity. Back then, like you remember Zeppelin. I mean, nobody knew anything about Zeppelin. You just
All
thought
right,
they were,
yeah.
anything REM, you didn't expect to really know anything about. I was talking about this the other day, actually. One of my favorite albums of the 90s. It's always been surprising to me and most people. To me, the definitive early 90s album has always been Pavement, Slanted, and Enchanted.
Yeah.
Now, I've never fallen in love with any of their other albums.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, I'd been hearing so much about this album before it was released. And for some reason, I got it in my head that I really wanted to hate it,
Mm-hmm.
because it just was one of those things where like every music journalist wanted to
Yeah, there
love
was
it.
a lot of hype around it.
A lot of hype. But now I look back and I'm like, how in like 1991 would I have been hearing about this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would get Rolling Stone once a month or something. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
much of it could have been in that? But for some reason, I can't wait for this album so I can shit on it. I don't know where I was getting or thought I was getting all this information. To speak, that's to
I had to
speak.
listen to WFMU. That's where I found out about Pavement, and
Always
I think
working.
Pavement's probably my favorite band of the '90s. I
They
mean,
are.
yeah, I think there's good stuff on all their records. The later records were becoming a little more difficult to embrace, but there's still good stuff on there. So yeah, I think they're probably my favorite band of the '90s.
But yeah, back then you could be mysterious. Like, I don't know how we got any information.
Yeah.
Actually, Slanted and Enchanted maybe could have been on this list.
Well, Crooked Rain. I guess that's the one that. I mean, there was a lot of hype about Slanted and Enchanted, but I think Crooked Rain brought them up a step even.
Yeah,
They
I
were
had
even
like
getting some MTV airplay.
yeah.
So that was a step up. But then that was probably the heights.
I mean, I don't want to say I was bummed when I finally heard the album and I loved it, but
Mm-hmm.
like, remember when I remember, because this was time perfect for when I moved to New York, when that Sean Lennon solo album was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Every music journo was just, I'm trying to be nice, I'll be delicate here, wetting themselves.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait to
Wedding's good.
good. Wetting themselves, couldn't wait to, because they had shit all over Julian.
Mm-hmm.
And they had decided, oh, Sean's the real thing. He's the real, the next John Lennon. He's the real thing.
Yeah.
And then when the album finally shows up, you didn't hear a word about it after that, because it stunk. So
I never heard the record. Yeah. I have no
leading up
comment.
to it, they just couldn't wait to love. They were like, oh, now he's the genius boy who the torch has been passed, because they hated Julian. And then it just went away. I forget why I'm even talking about this. Oh, leading up to it, they were just so desperate to love it, and then they had it. Even they couldn't pretend once it happened. But sorry. So
That's okay.
moving on to My Girlfriend, Car Wheels on a Gravel Road.
Mm-hmm.
Little Lucinda Wilson. You don't have that one on vinyl?
I had no. I've got the CD. I was officially on board with CDs at the time.
No need to apologize, Mike.
Yeah.
This is just one of those, and this also was time for when I moved to New York, so I associate with that. I always lump this album in with El Corazon,
Mm-hmm.
and it came out a little later, but that first Wilco Billy Bragg Mermaid Avenue album.
Yeah, that's a good record. Yeah.
Like, I feel like the three of those I just listened to. I remember it was my first job in New York. I had the CD tower. It's the first time you could put a little CD-ROM in, and I had like low enough so I could listen to it without, I played those three albums on a loop like for an entire year.
Uh-huh.
This is definitely Desert Island. Every song is great. Even the artwork, it's just haunting and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I know she's put out 50 albums since. I don't care. You loved her book.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I don't know. Just definitely Desert Island. You like the album? I mean,
Yeah, no, it's a great album. Yeah.
great drop in, Mike.
I'm trying to move things along.
Next up, speaking of everybody, Will Croxton's band, DT and the Shakes. He's gonna yell at me because, that's 3 bands ago. Why don't you want to? Their first EP, Smooth Studio, Crafted Teen Fodder. There's not a minute. That's a minute. It's only 13 minutes long total. Second on that album, Out of Love. Every song is great. It's got everything you want from like a young college band's first recording. It's exciting. Songs are great. This is a, you know, ride or die desert island album for me. It's an EP. When I did my EP, the Happy Scenes, Much Beloved, Take My Teenage Head, which was up for re-release last year. I did 6 songs because Smooth Studio was 6 songs. I specifically made sure to get the little hole in the middle, not the big 45 hole, because Smooth Studio did. And plus, when they were at James Madison, there were 2 other bands, the Rational Herdsmen, who also put out a 6-song 45 EP, which is almost as good as DT's.
Mm-hmm.
If DT's an A+, this is an A. And The Undecided, another band that they were all buddies with, put out a great record. So it's one of those things where I was too young, but you just picture this, you're nostalgic for a time you weren't even a part of. Like, I just pictured them just sitting around in college in the mid-'80s, just like, aren't we amazing?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this incredible? You can listen to it on Spotify. DT and the Shakes, Smooth Studio, Crafted Teen Fodder.
Yeah, I don't have the vinyl on that one. But yeah.
I got the checkbook, Mike.
Well, somebody could have sent it to us to promote on the show, but
that's precious. I'm not putting that thing in the mail. You know, precious cargo. You know how much one of those EPs is worth after all this time?
Well, tell everybody where your vinyls are these days.
I could use some cash right now.
Aren't your vinyls like in
I don't know
storage,
how many
like miles away from
sold,
you?
But I wouldn't want to put one in the mail.